Ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't be happier right now. Talking to Rasmus Andersen. Where are you? Because you are all over the world.
Well, right now I'm in San Diego. Yeah, like we used to travel a lot, Lauren and I, but COVID made that a little bit more difficult. So actually, the past couple of years has been pretty idle lately, I would say, in terms of the travel. So right now in San Diego, can't see the sun. I don't have any windows I can show you, but sunny San Diego. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, I was there 2 days ago, so we could have done this live.
That would have been better.
How long are you in San Diego?
That is unknown. Well, actually, it's not because I'm leaving in 7 days. Actually, on Wednesday, I'm going to Iceland for a little bit.
And Iceland is not home. Denmark's home, correct?
Denmark's home. Yes. So
Okay.
Denmark is home. That's still what these days it's kind of strange. I kind of call Denmark home, but I also call San Diego home. So I'm like caught in between. I'm not really sure what's considered home.
I gotcha. Okay. I think you were on the Wodcast like 8 years ago.
Was it really?
I think it was at the CrossFit Games. You sat down with us for a little bit outside.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Do you know, I would like to think my English has gone a little bit better since then. So this would be a good retake.
But it was fun then because it was like, oh, we have this like Nordic Viking guy coming on the show.
That's funny. I didn't know that. When did we do that? Where at? Like in Carson?
I think it was at Carson, and I think it was backstage, I call it like it's like a theater. We were sitting at some picnic tables, and you came over and did the show for a while. I don't think you were on long. I think you just did like.
This is cool.
It's when you were competing, so it was. Yeah, I'm almost positive. There are so many people that have been on the show. We've done 500 episodes, over 500.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And there'll be people like, Eddie, you don't remember talking to me? We had like an hour long. I was on your show, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind.
Well, to be fair, if you think 8 years ago, there was a lot of stuff going on in my mind back then because that was close to when I moved over here. So like my mind were just going like probably 200 miles an hour back then. Just so many things going on, and finally, still a lot of things going on, but in different ways these days. But things at least have settled a little bit in terms of that.
But back then, you were competing against your now wife's brother, I believe.
Yes. Good introduction to the family. Yes.
Yeah, that must have been interesting. Were you guys competitive?
I think everyone at the CrossFit Games are competitive. Yeah. So no, certainly. I'd like to get his perspective on this, but yeah, no. Yeah, it was. It wasn't even awkward or anything like that, to be honest, because we were also from California. So like back in the days when you had regionals and super regionals, there was a little bit of that. Like there was certainly rivalry between us, but at the same time, we were from the same region. So there was like we also kind of like became almost friends, like that group from each region that qualified because we were at the same regionals, we qualified together, and that sense we almost became friends, quote unquote, but still competitors. So no, to be honest, no, it was never awkward or anything like that. It was more than anything, honestly, it was kind of fun. We had some good times.
Was he working out at Invictus then?
In the beginning, no. So when we first competed, he was still up in Northern California.
Yeah.
But then he moved to Miami for a little bit to coach Rick Ross over there. Exactly. And that we still say that sometimes too. But then he made his way to San Diego after that. So we got some times in the beginning where we did not train together, but just competed against each other. And then towards the end, or later on, we started training together and competing against each other still.
Yeah, but you've never been on a team together.
No, not for Garrett.
How long did Garrett train Rick Ross for?
I forget, but it was a period of like at least half a year. I want to say, maybe even more than that. It might have been a full year because it was during his 2016 season, I think it was. So it was for a little bit, yeah.
So he was competing and training him.
Okay, I got to be careful what I say here, but I do think that was maybe not one of his best years. So I think that
would be impossible because
right. I think exactly. You're right.
Celebrities are the most difficult people in the world, and they need you have to be at their beck and call. And I can just imagine. And when you're training for the CrossFit Games, you've got to be like, completely 100% focused. I can just imagine that's like saying, I'm going to school to be a doctor and a lawyer
Yes.
at the same time.
It does not work. It just
I,
doesn't work.
I
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Like he didn't qualify that year from what I recall. So I guess, yeah, it was hard for, and it was also not only like, right, like not only did he coach Rick Ross, but he also moved to Miami and lived all of a sudden in a new city, a new place. So there's just a lot of stuff I imagine in his life going on at that point in time. So yeah, it probably hard to keep focused during that time.
Okay, so you're do you split time between Denmark and San Diego, or do you mostly San Diego?
No, it's mostly San Diego. That's also why we kind of call this home now. Like, no, we have a house here, Lauren and I, and we like in the San Diego. That's what we call, I guess, home. But it's hard because like we have a business here now, and even before the business, then it was still training, and like a 24-hour flight across the world just doesn't go very well with training. So no, it's for the past like almost 10 years now. It's been San Diego most of the time, and just visiting Denmark on occasions.
What part of San Diego?
A little bit all over. Right now, La Mesa, but like
Okay.
before that, downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Denmark. I
Oh
performed
yeah.
over there. Yeah. And
What do you think?
what's up with you guys and hot dogs?
Oh gosh, that's the best thing ever, though. It's funny you say that because I just had a hot dog earlier this morning, or like for lunch, because we made it for 4th of July, so it's leftovers, and it is just not even comparable. Not even like I wouldn't even make a comparison between the two. It's like the American hot dog is like below, and then like a hot dog from Denmark is like God, it's the best you can get, and they're just everywhere.
Everywhere. Every
Everywhere.
guy on the street, every grocery store, every
It's amazing.
gas station you stop at. It is like the only food. It's like the fast food.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and can I explain to the audience that they do hot dogs a little differently? They don't slice the bun down the middle.
Why would you?
They clip the top off of it, and there's like a hole in the middle, and then they squeeze like your ketchup or your mustard or you guys are big on mayonnaise too, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have the one called. How do you know how to say it over here? But the one like the yellow one. We have a yellow one. It starts with an R. It's called in Danish. It's called ramalade, which is hard to. There's no comparison.
I can totally understand that right there.
Well, anyway, I think you should continue because you did a good job explaining what it is.
But you take the hot dog and you basically, there's no other way to say it other than you fuck the bun. You take the hot dog and you push it into the bun, and it goes down like if you're watching me on YouTube right now, I'm doing like, when you're a little kid and you take your hand and you take your finger and you're like, ee. So you take the hot dog and you push it all the way down into the bun. And forgive me if I'm wrong, your hot dogs are like footlongs. They're not like
a good size. Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
long. When I was a kid, we ate footlong hot dogs and they were awesome. Now you never see them anywhere.
No, you don't.
But you take the hot dog and you push it all the way down, and just like the tip just sticks out the top, and then
that's what you eat.
I toured with 4 other comedians. One was this girl, Carmen Lynch, really funny comedian, and she stopped everywhere we stopped. She'd come out with a hot dog, and I'm like, "Would you stop eating those?"
That's funny. Oh, but they are good though. I really enjoy those. That's one of the beauties I miss over here is like not having hot dogs for sure.
Oh, there's so much that's so nice about Denmark. You're very peaceful people.
I would like to think so. Yeah, I agree.
Very intelligent.
Yeah, it depends who you ask, I guess. But yes, like you're right. Well, but you're right.
Wouldn't you say very educated?
I would say
population?
so. I would say we are. Yes, I would say we are. Generally speaking, I would say we are. Yeah.
And because of that, like you have a little homelessness, if any.
I mean, we don't have any at all, but it's hard. That's one of those things, like 10 years ago when I moved over here, all these things, I didn't even pay attention. It's probably wrong to say I didn't care for it. I didn't even worry about it. I was just young and it was not something that crossed my mind. But as you grow up a little bit older and you start realizing these things, man, I sound so old right now, but, you start to realize these differences in the countries. I don't know if you can necessarily make a comparison, but we really don't have any homeless. Like if you're homeless in Denmark, it's because you choose to. Like you really don't. Like you have a million options. Even if you don't have any options, so to speak, there's still options for you.
There's such a social safety
exactly.
net.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in America. You're homeless because you kind of went camping, tried meth, and then kept camping.
90% of the cases, that's exactly the reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to make a comparison, but anyway, but long story short is there's a lot of beauties in Denmark, but that you also realize there's a lot of beauties over here too. That it's two different countries, two different
Sure.
cultures, and
Well,
yeah,
I'm not going to lie to you. My issue with Denmark was everyone's good looking. I think are you the tallest people? I think maybe the Dutch
I
are.
no, I don't think we're the tallest, but we're up there at least. But I think that's as tall, yeah.
Everybody's good looking, everyone's nice, everyone's educated, but it's so homogenous that it's boring. It's like
I agree with that actually.
I
Yeah.
was really bored. And it's beautiful, the architecture is not, but
Yes.
but I can't remember anything from it. And I went just a few years ago because it was so there were the only crazy thing that happened, nobody believes happened to me. And even my cab driver didn't believe that comedian Carmen and I went out one night to the bars after our show. And we're like, hey, let's go. And we went to some courtyard area where all the nightclubs are. And we went to a few bars. And then we were leaving and she got a hot dog, as she
Of
does.
course.
And we're standing out there and a guy comes up to me and he said, do you have a light? And I said, no, like he did it. He said it in Dutch. I didn't know what he said. Or I mean, I'm sorry, in Danish.
Danish.
And I said, I don't know what you're saying. And he goes, and then he said in English, do you have a light? And I said, no, I'm sorry. I don't smoke. And he goes, what do you think? You're better than me? And I went, no. And then he was starting to get aggressive. So I walked away with her. And the next thing you know, he picked up a bottle out of the trash can.
What?
And this is what every single person says to me from Denmark. They're like, no, this didn't happen in Denmark. He throws the bottle at my head, just misses my head, hits the wall behind me. And I'm
Jeez.
like, holy shit. So I want to get her out of the way to make her safe. So I kind of get between her and I tell her, just run away, just go away. I'll make sure you're okay. And then I wanted her to get away from me and then I would try to get away.
Yep.
So she is kind of like not listening to me. And I'm like, Carmen, go. And so she finally gets the picture and he's going to get another bottle. He goes into the trash can and picks up another bottle and throws it at me. This guy really needed a cigarette, I guess.
So desperate.
So I start kind of getting away from him. And then I'm like, oh, he's far now. It's okay. And then some guy comes up to me and says, hey, you know that dude that just threw the bottles at you? And I go, yeah. They go, he's coming at you with a flasker.
What? This is crazy.
What's a flasker?
Well, I mean, a flasker. Try to say it again. Flasker. I'm assuming it's like a little bottle, like you drink whiskey out of, or something like that.
But I think it was a broken bottle. Like
that's what you're talking about, like an upside down, like where you hold the handle and
yeah. So they're like, he's coming at you, and I look and I see him like coming through the crowd, and I'm like, oh my god. So Carmen has now flagged a taxi, and she jumps in, and I jump in, and it's kind of like one of those like you see in a movie. We're like, go, and the guy's like, oh, we're like, go, and he pulls away, and the guy's running at us. And so then the guy said, what happened? The taxi driver. And I told him the whole story, and he's like, nah, that didn't happen. I'm like, what do you mean that didn't happen? And she's like, yeah, it just happened. And he's like, nah, not here in Denmark. No, that doesn't happen. He's like, we don't have people like that. And I'm like, maybe he came in on my flight from America. I don't know. Maybe
I was about to say he's probably from Sweden or something like that. That's why.
I had no idea. Oh yeah. So you're right over the border from Sweden.
Literally, it's just a bridge away. Yeah. Just a
Malmo.
Bridge.
Is Malmo the southernmost city? Okay.
Yep. Got it right. Yeah.
So do you guys feel like you're kind of Swedish, kind of Norwegian, kind of?
Yeah. I mean, in the eyes of America, Europe is one country, right? So like you're from Europe. That's basically where you're from. But then like even more specific, Scandinavia. Yeah, I think we have so many similarities that like, no, we're different countries, but while we're different countries, it does seem like they're so similar in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So why Iceland? What are you going there for?
My wife, Lauren's over there.
She's on a super team.
Yeah, exactly. Soon to be wife. She's been over there since January, right? So January, and she just came back. So she just left yesterday, and flying right now back to Iceland, actually, as we speak. And then we've been doing distance, like just being away from each other for the past whatever it's been, 5 months now.
And you said you're not married yet? I thought you guys were
No,
married.
well, it's one of those things where we don't
Oh,
really like.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
COVID. COVID made it complicated.
yeah.
So September 9th, if a war in Ukraine, not all of a sudden is just putting a stopper, but if supposedly if COVID and a war is not like being in our way or whatever it may be these days, then we will have a wedding on September 9th.
Well, congratulations. That's
Thank you,
amazing.
thank you.
And you guys have been dating for a long time.
It's
I
been a while.
imagine.
It's. I hope Lauren's not listening, but it's been 7 years, coming up on 8 soon, I think.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
I think me and my wife, it was a year, but now we've been together for like 10 years. So
goes quick.
yeah, it does go quick. Where are you guys getting married? In San Diego?
No, in Santorini. We decided to
Oh,
like work for
wow.
most random place. Yeah. No, why Santorini? We've been there. We were there a couple of years ago. We thought it was beautiful. We quickly in and out. We felt like if we're doing it in San Diego, then my whole side of the family had to travel over. If we did Denmark, it would be the opposite. So I was like, why? Let's do this middle ground that both families have to travel to, and then like we'll make it a little bit more just small wedding and have the people we
That's
really
awesome.
care for them. Yeah, so it'll
That'll
be fun.
be beautiful place. And if you go to your Instagram, which I did, and looked,
Oof.
you do not post.
Yeah, I'm taking the approach of I don't even know what approach. I was going to say something about like little is more, or I'm keeping it very exclusive. No, do you know what? It's one of those things where for a long time as a competitor in CrossFit, you have to do Instagram. It's just part of, especially, well, let's take it a step back. Like if you're a male CrossFit athlete, specifically male or even female for that matter, but a little bit harder as a male, like, you don't make much off of competing. So you have to make a little bit of a living through sponsorships, and the ways you make the money through sponsorships are mainly through Instagram, right? Or it's now being other platforms too, but Instagram specifically back then was a big thing. So I've never been a big proponent of social media. Like I think it came with a lot of good things when social media was introduced, but I also think it comes with a lot of downside and negative sides of things to the social media these days. So so I've always been kind of on the fence of what of social media, how to use it. And so yes, during my competitive years, I used it quite a bit for specifically because it was sort of a mandatory thing if I wanted to get any income from it. And then when I was like saying finally, like, I'm no longer competing, I decided that, hey, like, just it's not worth my time. It's
No,
time.
God, if I wasn't in the entertainment business, I'd never be on it.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you have the same perspective. It
Oh
makes it easier.
God, I despise it. I look at it as though it's like taking a shit, like a gross shit. Like you have to do it, but
Yes.
you don't like it. It's not
Yeah.
like I walk out of the bathroom like, wow. I mean, some people do, but
Some people do.
it depends on what you just did in there. But I look at it as though it's like a necessary evil.
Yeah.
And it's so ubiquitous that you can't get away from it. So
Hmm.
you can't be that guy that's like, I'm not going to do it at all.
Hmm.
If you're trying to, there's, a majority of the businesses these days. So
Yep.
you just have to find the way to do it. It's okay. I'm going to look at it like, and the people that work with me are not going to enjoy this, but I'm going to look at it like my cleaners, my garbage man, all the people that I hire to do the jobs that I absolutely detest. I don't want to clean my house. I don't want to clean my
Hmm.
toilets. I don't want to take out my trash. So I have garbage men that do that. I have a cleaning lady that does that. And that's what I look at social media for me. I
Hmm.
don't want to do it. I don't want to be part of it. I find myself, as soon as I start scrolling, I'm on it. And an hour later, it's like I was in a time machine.
And you're
And I
still
was like,
scrolling, right? Yeah.
and I'm like, what did I do? Now
Yeah.
I'm depressed because everybody in the world's doing stuff better than I've ever done it.
Exactly
And,
right.
just like
That's so true. So true.
funnier,
But
better, like better look. Every aspect of like the best of everything's on there. And I just feel completely inadequate. And I'm like,
yes, that's what it
it's,
does.
yeah.
But that's why I think like you can also, that's why like it has two sides to it, right? Because it can also be used for good things, and that's why like if I could go back in time, I probably wish I would have done a better job at this. But like it can be used for really good things too, like education or
Mm-hmm.
specific
Mm-hmm.
education, right? But it can also be used just like being the opposite, not trying to like, always, because that's what I did. I always try to show my best lifts, right? I mean, that's how you get sponsors, right? That's how you show it. You're worthy of like these sponsorships. And that's why you should be getting paid more. And that's why you make so you try to really just, hey, I'm not going to show these 10 failed lifts I just did, but the number 11 that I finally did well, like I'm going to show that. But going back and looking in hindsight, I wish I could have done a better job at like maybe be showing more of the true side of it. And that's why one thing Lauren has done a really good job with. She's very authentic and very real. She's trying to be, at least on the social media. And that's one thing that I wish I could have done better. So like, at some point, who knows, maybe I'll make my way back to Instagram, social media, if I feel like I have something better to say. But until then, I decided that, hey, like, it's not really worth my time.
There are some good aspects to it, like you said, information
Certainly.
and learning
Mm-hmm.
and progression. I believe that all sports and things, art and comedy, whatever, it all progresses because people are seeing other people learning what they do and then
Absolutely.
going further with it. I don't know though. Like my niece the other day had her prom,
Yeah.
and my sister was telling me, she's like, it wasn't like when we had prom. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, they go take the photos and then they go home and upload their photos. And then they all talk online about their photos. I'm like, they didn't go to like after prom and they didn't. She's like, not really. They're just all about kind of the photos and the social media aspect of it. And they're with their friends, but they leave their friends to then go talk to their friends online.
Gosh,
And I'm
like,
just,
it's a tough one. It's a tough one too, because like there's no, like, this conversation is really going different direction than I thought, but it's really interesting, right? but it's one of those things that like there's no doubt that we headed that direction, right? And I think we might as well try to face it and try to make the best out of it. And I'm
right.
not saying it's a bad thing, but there is no doubt that like virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and technology is just getting so good, and it's becoming more and more a bigger part of everyone's life, especially the younger generation, right? So there's no doubt we're headed that way. Where like, yeah, we take a quick photo and then we go home and post it. What worries me is that when you then go home and you post and you put like 300 filters on it and you Photoshop
Mm-hmm.
the different
Mm-hmm.
things out of it and then you post it, and then like if that's all you do, I think that's my concern. Like I really think that's where like the education aspect and like telling people that like, hey, like just what you see online is not always the full truth, and you got to be careful. But it's kind of scary because it has some really big downsides to it, and that's why specifically females. I think their younger generation females are the one that are really
Being
really
affected by it.
vulnerable. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and I think that's the dangerous part of it.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because if you go to your Instagram, it looks like you retired yesterday. And it's been how long have you been in retirement
Well,
from
it's been like,
competing in
yes,
CrossFit?
from competing CrossFit. It's been, well, so 2019 was the last competitive year I did, and then 2020 came around, and that's also when COVID happened. So that was supposed to still compete in 2020, but it was already on the fence then. But then COVID happened, and then I was like, okay, this is a good time for me to be like, not knowing when this is all over and what happens next is a good time for me to stop. So probably sometime in 2020.
What made you decide to stop? Because you're a beast.
Oh, thank you.
What
Well, appreciate
what
that.
was it?
Good question. I don't know. Like, I think one of the aspects that made me choose to stop was that, like, I think you realize you only have one lifetime, and I wanted to spend that doing other things than just training and competing, because that's really what it was. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good lifestyle, but at the same time, it was just like Laura and I would wake up, go to the gym, go home, eat and sleep or nap, and go back to the gym and go home. And like, the worst part about it was not so much the hours spent at the gym, but just the feeling you have afterwards of just being depleted from it, like no energy, complete drained, you're just tired, and like even though you want to go do something, the only thing you can really do is just lay down and just try to recover.
Let me I can't relate because I've never worked out like that, but I can relate in that there's something just like doing that. It's called having kids.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we haven't done that yet, so please don't say that.
Oh my God, it's exactly what it is. I sit around and think about stuff. I'm like today, I was like, I want to do a workout. And then I was like, they're coming home. They're coming home from school. And I know what they're going to do. They're going to be like, chase me, daddy, chase me. And they're going to sprint up and down the street. They're going to want to climb stuff. They want to get in my shoulders. You never know when you're going somewhere and one of them quits and they're like, carry me home. And you're like, it's like, oh, okay, I've got a 40-pound sandbag that I'm going to carry 3
That's funny.
miles now because he decided to ride his dirt bike here that then the battery went out and now he wants carried home. Like
It's so funny.
it's literally, like, what do they say? What's it always called? The something in the unknowing in CrossFit, the
Yeah,
unknown.
whatever the saying is, I forget that saying, but I know what you're talking about.
That's what every workout is for me. It's
That's funny.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where we're going to be. I don't know who's shitting their pants and I have to run back to the car to get another pair of pants. I don't know. Like, it's honestly like, oh, we're going swimming. Oh, now they're going to dunk me under the water 15 times. So I'm cross parenting.
Well, good thing at least you got out of this conversation. We figured out I'm not going to have any kids. So thank you for that, at least.
Yes, good. I want to stop everyone out there that's actually, like, just remember how you felt on the couch at the end of the day. That's how my wife and I feel when we get both of them to sleep. When we get one and the other, and usually we fall asleep with them because you're just like, because they're always
exhausted.
like, stay with me, and then you fall asleep.
I can see that.
And then, but if we get up and we come out of the room and we look at each other, we just go.
It sounds so similar. So similar.
And then it's like, well, what do you want to do now? And it's like, we need to get to sleep because they're going to be up at 6 a.m. ready to go again.
Oh, man.
So just get ready. Like, enjoy this time.
Thank you. Yeah, that certainly sounds like a lot of similarities, though. It is true. But I will certainly make sure I enjoy this time a little bit more, or just never have kids. It might be the better answer to that.
So how much are you training now?
Do you know what? So that's one of those things where I just completely turned it upside down and barely trained. I really don't. I don't train much. So I think, honestly, I did it for so long, kind of burned out. And then, like, as I kind of said, hey, okay, it's enough is enough. And it's just complete opposite. Now it's time to enjoy my desserts, enjoy all the good food, enjoy time, like, not training. And okay, I should say also that I've been running a business. A big part of my decisions these days are obviously evolved around the business, and that takes up like probably 12 hours of the day, right? So whatever time is left outside of sleeping in a business is really not that much time. But
and you're running the training business that Lauren is the
founder.
Founder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the name of it again?
Grown Strong.
And it's a pretty successful business, I should add. So I want people to know. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are doing what you guys do, but you guys have done it really well.
Well, thank you.
I'm
trying.
Well, a lot of the OGs, and it's funny that I'm calling Lauren because she just seems so young, and so that she's an OG of CrossFit, which is really crazy.
You're right.
I mean, you both are. And a lot of the OGs have built these training programs, and people follow them, and some do well and some don't do well, but you guys have been very successful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. It definitely seemed like there was a period of time, I think we've come over it a little bit, but I think we're still in it, where everyone just thought that, hey, let's start an online program. Let's get 1,000 members and then on a reoccurring subscription and life is good. But gosh, it's, and I guess, to a certain degree, we were almost thinking that as well. I think we truly, when Lauren started Grown Strong, she truly had a deeper purpose in thinking about memberships. And honestly, Lauren couldn't care less about the business aspects of it. Like, that's not entirely true, but she really don't care much about that. She cares a lot more about the impact and trying to actually make a difference. Where for me is certainly also that, but for me it's more the business. I'm more attracted to the business side of things.
Yeah, that's me and my wife. We're complete opposites.
I
would never collect a dollar. I would be a poor homeless guy if it wasn't for my wife, because I literally, and my agents always tell me that. They're like, how was the gig? And I'm like, oh, it was so fun. I would have done it for free. And my agents go, I hope you did not tell the booker that. And I'm like, I might have. And they're like, just shut up. Just shut up. And I'm like, no, but it was. So whenever people say to me, how much do you want? I always go, I'm not allowed to answer that question. You need to call my agents. I'm sorry. I really want to answer, because I'd go, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care about money at all. And, and I guess, I read a book once about Jim Henson, the guy that made the Muppets, and he just loved to create, and he just loved it. And he one time said to his manager, and he made a fortune, but he said to his manager, I never want to see a figure again. I don't want to see a number. I don't like numbers. I don't want to know how much is in my bank account. I don't want to. I like my wife gives me a credit card and goes, go do what you got to do, have fun, and I'll manage everything. And just I'm
That's
kind of the
funny.
monkey. I'm kind of the monkey they let out of the cage.
Well,
And
that sounds so. That sounds exactly like what Laura and I. It's just we're just reversed it, but yes, that sounds very similar.
yeah, so but it's just so funny because you got into CrossFit.
Yes.
You didn't come from like a sports background or anything like that. Did you know you were like crazy strong always?
No, I was not crazy strong. In fact, I was the opposite. Well, I was overweight. I was weak. I don't think I don't definitely wouldn't call me athletic, but I probably did catch things maybe relatively quick. So when I was doing something, it wouldn't take me too long to learn something new. But definitely not an athlete. Definitely not strong. And as I said, like also overweight. So it was just a. But again, this is pre teenage stage of my
Mm-hmm.
life, and then come teenage, then whatever hormones or whatever happened in my body during that time definitely and at the same time also getting into fitness during that period of time just really over a relatively short time completely changed like the person both in the inside outside of who I am and who I am today. um, so that's what was my introduction into CrossFit, and just got hooked on that idea of like what really got me intrigued was that the whole idea of like being able to see what you did yesterday and then to compare yourself to today and then see like the difference and how you become better. I think that was what really made me intrigued by CrossFit.
I ask this question to everybody. How'd you find it? How did you find CrossFit?
Yeah, says my friend. My friend he wanted to try it and had just asked me. Very boring here. I wish I had a good story. I should make up a whole story. But yeah, he just asked me if I want to go to the gym with him because this thing called CrossFit, and this is 2009 probably. This is early CrossFit days, and he just asked me if I wanted to go do this thing called CrossFit and try it out, and we did. As I
And
said, like I was weak back then, so I couldn't do anything at all. It was
and
embarrassing.
and this was a gym in Denmark,
Gym in Denmark, yeah, gym in Denmark.
and I didn't even know they had them over there by then.
We had a
That,
few.
I mean, that's so early.
It was early. Yeah, it was very early. I said 2010, 2009. It might have been 2010, but it was definitely not later because then in 2011 was the first time I signed up for the Open, I think. And I might be getting the dates wrong a little bit here, but it was early. I mean, it was. But again, I also had a long way to go. So the first couple of years was spent just trying to get my first unbanded pull up and stuff like that.
So how long did it take you from when you started to when you got into the games?
Yes, I think it's 2009. I actually think I have a record of me checking into that gym in 2000, October 2009. So 2009, and then in 2013 was my first year at regionals. In 2012, I tried to qualify, but didn't. But I was definitely I was on the cusp of qualifying. I remember doing that burpee. That was when they had the 7 minutes of burpees, and that was
Yeah.
the one that kept me out. And I tried it 4 times over the span of 5 days, I think. And during that
Oh,
time and during that window, I also had a competition actually in a local gym. So, and I remember like Sunday night, whenever the deadline was, I could just see my score wasn't good enough. It was 112 at that time. And I was just like, hey, I got to do this. I want to qualify. So I went out in the middle of the night. I think it was like 9 or 10 o'clock. And I had my brother put up a broom shaft up in a tree, and we taped up duct tape and made like go out the line you had to touch, so I could do my burpees and then touch it. We had to put up like some projector lights or whatever. So here I was like 10 o'clock at night, and that Sunday when the deadline was there, trying to make it to the next stage, and I didn't. Sadly, it would have been a good story if I made it. But so 2012 I didn't make it. 2013 I made it to regionals and took whatever 9 to 10 in Europe, in the Meridian region, I think it was called back then. And then in 2014, I moved to San Diego and qualified with Invictus to the CrossFit Games, and that was actually a year we ended up
did
winning.
did you meet did you meet Lauren at Invictus, or did you meet her at the games like when you were
No,
competing?
I signed up for Invictus and joined the gym, and that's where she was at.
Oh wow.
We talked about coming up with a cool story there too, but it's just as lame as it can be. I walked into the gym, she couldn't pronounce my name, and yeah, rest is history. Yeah.
I'm trying to think where it was. Uh, it might have been in Denmark. I tell this story when I talk about the coolest CrossFit gym. Do you remember the name of your CrossFit gym that you started at?
Mine was 4 letters. OBBC CrossFit. Such a lame name.
Um,
OBBC.
I I went. I think it was Denmark. It might have been Norway, because I did Denmark and then went on to Norway to do shows. But
Mhm.
I went to I Googled CrossFit gym as I do everywhere, and I I just find the closest one and I go to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to this Globo gym and I go upstairs to it. I think it's upstairs. It's just like a Globo gym. And I was like, hey, I look around. I'm like, do you guys do CrossFit here? And she goes, outside, go through the field or something. And I'm like, huh? She's like, yeah, I just go outside, look for the building in the back. And I'm like, okay. So I walk out, like I don't pay, I don't do it. I walk outside. There's like some train tracks I have to cross, and it looks like a really like kind of like littered area. And then there's this like building with like a loading dock, and there's graffiti all over it.
Wait, I'm just gonna stop you there because everything you said right now sounds exactly like my gym. Like you got to find that name because that's exactly what my gym was, a global gym upstairs. You would go up there, check in, you would walk down, you would go over to the close to the train track in a building that had loading docks. So
Yeah.
everything you said is literally describing my gym.
So
It would be so wild if that's a
I
one.
think I was at your gym. So wait. So I walk in the door and there's like 4 dudes in there who look like they've all made the games. And there's no like, I don't think there was like a workout on the wall or anything. They're all just doing their shit. And they all just kind of like grunt at me and they're playing Rocky 4 soundtrack.
Yeah, we played Rocky a lot.
And they're playing the Rocky 4 soundtrack and they're all monsters. And I'm doing my workout like, do these guys, are they just wondering who I am? And like, how did this guy get in? But no one asked me for money or to sign in or sign a liability waiver. And I just did my own workout and kind of left and was like, did that just happen? Was I just at Rocky's training facility? I mean, that's what it felt like. You know, when he trains to fight Ivan Drago, that's where I felt like I was.
Dude, we got to have to check after this, and if we're exactly the same gym, because I'm not kidding you. The gym, so OBBC stands for Odense. It's my city. Bodybuilding. Bodybuilding. The 2 B's is bodybuilding center, and that was literally the name of it because it was a global gym. So it was the name of it. And you would go upstairs, check in. You had to go down and go over towards the track, and 2 loading docks, and like that sounds exactly like.
What's the name of the gym? I'm putting it into Google Maps right now, and I'm going to be able to tell if I was there.
So I don't think it exists anymore, but it was OBBC, but it was just called that in Odense. I know that'll be so random if you're there. There's no way. That'll be.
What was the name of the Globo gym?
So that was called OBBC, and it was OBBC CrossFit, but it's now torn down. Like the gym is no longer there.
Oh, damn. That I think. What city was it in?
So that's in Odense, which is the 3rd biggest city. So if you went to Copenhagen, like there's a couple over in Copenhagen. I know that most of the gyms in Denmark. We're such a small country. I basically family with everyone over there.
So that was in Copenhagen?
No, the one I'm talking about was in Odense. It's the 3rd biggest city in Denmark.
How do you spell it?
Odense.
Let me see if I was there.
I just clarify. 3rd biggest city in Denmark is like size of, I don't know, a warehouse.
Yeah, because I think we did shows there, and that'll. I forget what agency. I'll find out after the show. Okay. This is hilarious. I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same place.
It's just like I can just resonate with everything you said. We had graffiti. We played Rocky all the time. If it wasn't Rocky, then it was just. I mean, it really was Rocky all the time. And Eye of the Tiger. It was the same soundtrack every single time. I still have it on my phone next to me here. Like it's the same soundtrack every single time.
I've told that story on this podcast so many times, and everybody laughs. And I'm like, you go over there, and there's like these big, Scandinavian people are like, and I just walk in and they're like, but because there's certain gyms that you go to, everyone has their own culture in this business. Yeah. And you go to the tech cities and you get the nerdy guys who are sometimes really good at CrossFit, but they're technicians and they're very focused on it. And you go to Canada and you get these farmer types in Alberta, and they're just monsters, and they can throw weight around. And then usually the coach will program the hardest workout you've ever done in your life. But it's kind of my situation when I went to Scandinavia. I just kept walking into gyms and going, I'm going to die today. Like I'd look at the warm up and I'm like, I'm done after the warm up. Like that's it for me. So,
Oh, that's funny.
I think that there's a reason to why so many good CrossFitters come out of that area. You've got Iceland and
Yeah.
uh,
I mean,
are there
Iceland's
any
just
good
crazy. I mean, Iceland's just ridiculously crazy.
for how small that
Yeah,
population
I
is?
mean, this is insane. Yeah, that's on. Yeah, it's like I have no idea why. This is so crazy. Like, well, the whole. Do you know what? Like, it's interesting. It's a very interesting conversation to have, right? Because, like, again, it's a different rabbit hole, but it's an interesting conversation to have about how do you have such a small country in a world where just like there's just so many good athletes coming out of there, not just CrossFit, but I guess specifically CrossFit, but just I mean soccer, recently soccer, right? Like they did a really good job in that, and I don't know, it's just very impressive. So, but generally speaking, I guess it's just a different culture. I think we have a healthier living, generally speaking, probably
Mhm.
compared to America. I think that might be part of it, and I'm sure there's other people who give a way better reasoning why that's the case. But it's interesting though.
You guys eat a lot of what did I get every night with the potatoes? Every night with my dinner, they would serve me like a dinner, and there would be what kind of potatoes were those? Oh,
God.
fingerling potatoes.
We do have a
Like
lot of finger potatoes. Yes,
yeah,
we do have
it
a
was
lot of.
every meal I got was served with fingerling potatoes, and it was like it was so weird. I was like, "Oh, look what's on the plate again. It's fingerling potatoes." And I'm like, "Is that all you guys eat?"
They can be
But
pretty good though. If you get them in summertime, we actually have like our potatoes from Denmark. They're pretty good, but it's true. Yes, it's a little exaggerated.
um, but okay, so like, who do you, as being Danish, who do you relate to the most? Do you relate to the Swedes, the Norwegians, the Icelandic people? Which one is it?
Yeah, Sweden and Norway, like they're right next to us.
Right, and Iceland's over in its own.
Its own a little bit, and it's also like language a little bit different, culture wise probably similar, but still a little bit different. Norway, Sweden, Denmark could all be the same country more or less, to be honest.
Yeah.
Denmark, of course, being on the top a little bit better than the rest of those two,
And then
but
what about Finland? Is that
it's
more of
all
an Eastern?
yeah, it's a little bit more exactly. It's actually, I should be careful what I say here, but I would also like to say that, like, I also like to think that they are a little bit more Eastern in a way. And what does that mean? I don't know. Like, it just means they're probably a little bit more, um, like they're not as super outgoing. The language is
Mhm.
also different from like
Sure,
Norway, Sweden,
sure.
Denmark. We can get around, like understand each other, but Finland is like, and same in Iceland. They're kind of like away from that a little bit. They have their own like variations of that. That makes it a little bit harder to understand, I guess. So yeah, Finland's a little bit of its own thing too.
I had Snorri Barron on the show,
Oh yeah.
and we talked all about Iceland and why they're such good CrossFitters and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And it's just it is part of their culture, and Annie, doing so well early on highlighted it, and because on the main stage, like you're looking at a girl who went from Iceland and became so big in a
Hmm.
worldwide sport that it became popular then, and it kind
Hmm.
of grew. It's like, why are the Kenyans so good at running? Because they've been successful at it, and when they see success, then they all gravitate towards it.
Makes sense. Yeah.
How did Lauren end up on an Icelandic team?
we ask ourselves, we ask that question too. It's very, I don't know. I hope it's a known story that I can share, but there's really not anything special about it. It's very random. I think Andy had asked Lauren back in November or something like that about if Lauren wanted to do a team for Wadapalooza. And Wadapalooza was a competition coming up in
Yeah.
January, so it was relatively close to it. And Lauren had elbow surgery back in July, and while she probably would have been ready by January, you kind of just you think twice before you say yes to go on a team with Annie. But like you want to make sure you do your very best, and you don't want to hold her back. And with Lauren having elbow surgery, she was like, Annie, like I would love to, but it doesn't make sense for me. Like I would take a big risk, and also like I wouldn't want to let you down. So it kind of fell through, but that was the first conversation they had about like maybe doing a team together. And why, I don't know. Like honestly, like Annie she's always been really nice to her, and I hope you've been nice to her as well. But we've always just talked well together. Like Annie's boyfriend Frederick is from Denmark, so I guess in that sense we had a little bit in comparison there. And then yeah, like a couple weeks later, she was like, "Hey, what do you think about doing a team for the CrossFit Games?" And Lauren was like, "Absolutely."
And how much time has she had to spend there?
So the rule says you have to be there. I forget the exact wording of the rules, but you had to be there in January, and they got allowed by CrossFit to move there a little bit later in January. So I think after Waterpalooza, Lauren went to Iceland. So it was about middle of January, and they were allowed to do that for CrossFit, and then essentially all the way until the season ends, you had to stay there.
I'm surprised they have any rules now. You know, with the way things have been. I'm sorry. I've been critical of it, but it is so confusing.
Yes.
Nobody knows who's getting it. The last chance qualifier. Are there going to be people like competing the day before? Who's in? What teams made it?
Full agree.
I don't know what they tried to do this year.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to follow, and it makes it not as fun to watch.
I agree with
not
that.
as much to pay attention to. I don't know who has. I mean, I kind of have a general idea of who's qualified, but you just keep seeing, oh, then so and so, and you're like, oh, he's in that, or he's not in. Is he done? Is he?
Hey, I fully agree. There's so many. I mean, it's kind of sad, right? Because like we've been with this sport since very early days, and like we've been through the rise of it, and it's been a really good journey. It's really exciting, but a part of this, of course, also that people are always going to be scared of changes, and I get that, and that's going to be the argument against what I'm about to say here is that it's just because you don't like changes. But in reality, is that like we had regionals, then they started introducing super regionals, whatever they were called, and that was also kind of fun. But then after that, like then it's just, in my opinion, it started going south like a little bit. It's just then they started introducing these what's it called? Like these like qualifiers around the world. I forget the name of them now, which is embarrassing. But that was kind of fun because it allowed the athletes to travel a bit more. It allowed for like super teams to be made, and it allowed a little bit more for a sport probably to be created. But during that whole time, and especially in the past couple of seasons, and I know COVID is not making it any easier, but I kind of what you just said, it's just there has been no clear direction in my opinion. It's been very just unorganized, and like I miss the old, and again of course like changes here, like we just have to get used to it, part of it, but I do miss the old days a little bit more where things were very clear. It was a very like you went to the open, very top of the top, went to regionals, and then from regionals you go to the games, and it was very much like, hey, like you knew who was going there. It was
what was wrong? What was wrrong with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I miss that too.
The super regionals, I didn't even know why that was needed. I'm like, well, wasn't regionals the same thing? Why like why are there more? I think, I mean, the only thing that I can think is that all of these people that were creating their own events, you know, like the Waterpaloozas and all these things, it was detracting from CrossFit, or a distraction, or it was pulling money away. Whatever it was doing, they were like, we need to find a way to be inclusive with them. Those, and it's funny, I was talking to Josh from RPM today, and he just stopped over here. I got some equipment from them doing their programming, and he was saying like, why not? Like, what's great is you look at like we follow. I guess he does too. I follow surfing, and if you look at golf has all these events that are big events that like you want to win this event. You want to win the Masters, and you want to win the PGA, and you want to win, just like surfing. You want to win Bells Beach. You want to win Pipeline. You want to win Chopu. And they're their own big thing. Pipeline's its own big deal, but you get points from it, and you get the points, and you move towards the final event of the year, which is usually Pipeline. But so you go to 11 different events during the year, and it culminates at Pipeline. And so the scores build, and, you know, usually by the end, it's down to a couple guys, and it's like, well, what can happen, and blah, blah, blah. But you've watched all year, you've followed, you've gotten to know these athletes. I mean, why not? What he said, which I agree with, is why not use that template? It works with so many other sports.
So many sports, right? Yeah.
You know, they go to the Rogue, you know, event. They get so many points from there, and you go on to Waterpalooza. You get so many points from that. You go to the Dubai, and blah, blah, blah. So
I think that'll be great. But again, it kind of goes back to, again, like CrossFit is just not again, we got to be careful, but it's not a sport yet. It's just still a fitness program.
It's funny, you keep saying I got to be careful.
Oh, sorry. Okay, do you know what? We can edit things, I guess. So
no. What I'm going to say, and I'm going to interrupt. We used to say that all the time. Like, we were really worried on the show back in the day, because there was a little bit of a Big Brother is watching kind of thing. And
that's what it feels like sometimes, yeah.
But it doesn't. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore. It's so fractured that everybody.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Do you know
mean,
what? I can see that actually. I can see that. You're probably right about that.
there's no real
And I also don't
opinion
care.
hanging from above. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also shouldn't care anymore because I don't compete anymore. But
Yeah.
do you know what though? I will say when you are in it, and I guess reason I'm saying that is because I was in it for a long time, and there used to be at least a lot of like, hey, you got to know the right people. It's just like, it's just there was a lot at least early days where like, hey, it's if you know the right people, it's good to know you want to be on the good side of everything, really, whether it was from CrossFit Media to Dave Castro, whatever it was. Like you wanted to be on the good side of things, and it really came down to like, hey, if you're on the good side of things, you would get exposure, you would get
Sure.
taken care of, and
And
that's why like you had to be careful at some point because I know like some people are they were getting kicked out, like, or they were moved over to the bad side, so to speak.
but you know what? I used to be critical of CrossFit for that.
Yep.
But now looking back and comparing it to other sports, it's like that in every sport. Look at Colin
Everywhere.
Kaepernick.
Colin
Kaepernick.
So true.
You speak
Yes.
out, you're not playing anymore. Like
So
you rock the boat, you're done. It happens.
it's true. It's true.
They investigate NFL players. They want to know what your background is like, what you're capable of. Are you going to get along with your teammates?
So
Blah,
true.
blah, blah. And then are you going to talk well? Are you going to speak well of your coaches? Blah, blah, blah. Because it's a business.
I mean, but even higher level too, right? Like government too. Like that's a different rabbit hole we're going into there as well. But there's just so many different places, right? I mean, it really is. And you're right. I think it's just for us, it was just CrossFit was a smaller sport, so maybe it was more obvious, and it was also more obvious for us because we were, so to speak, on the inside. So it came very close to heart. So and it was something it was very mindful. We were very mindful, and to a certain degree still are very mindful about like just making sure that like, hey, just want to make sure we don't piss the wrong people off, so to speak.
Yeah. And it was, in something like CrossFit where there's one owner and one director of the games, there were two guys you really don't want to piss off.
Yes,
and
that's so
there's
true.
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But, how many people have really been run out of the, not really, they didn't really run anyone. The only people that got run out of the business were those two.
Backfired, I guess you can say.
Ironically, those are the two that got run out. And,
that's kind of true.
And,
yeah, you're right.
And was it a good thing? God only knows. I mean, look where we are now. So,
I don't know. I don't know if it was or not. But anyway, So anyway, back to what you were saying with the season kind of restructuring. That I think you're right. And what I was then saying is that I think we're just not quite there yet with CrossFit as a sport. I think we're still in this phase where, and this is just my opinion, but I think we're in the phase where CrossFit is still considered like a fitness training, a way of training really. And they've tried to establish some sort of a competition around it as well, where like, hey, like you can compete and it is a sport at the highest level, which is true. I just think it's just not done. Like the separation between the two is not clear enough yet, in my opinion. There needs to be a better separation where like the CrossFit Games is its own thing. Like people over here, which is 99.9% of the people, they should not be doing anything that remind like this is close to this over here.
Right. I've said the exact same thing, and it's like they almost need to rename the games to like the fitness games or something like that, so that CrossFit can do its methodology and what it does. And the truth is, if you were going to train for the games, let's say calling it the fitness games or the whatever it's called, a lot of people wouldn't go to a CrossFit gym to do it because, or do CrossFit per se to do it, because you do more of Olympic weightlifting and sports specialization and stuff like that. That's going to prepare you for it. So doing the workout of the day at a CrossFit gym is not, we've all known that does not prepare you for the games.
It's not.
No. So they're not in the same world. I mean, they're in the same world, but like, I don't know, there needs to be a delineation or something.
And I don't have the answer for it, right? Either. Like, I'm not pretending here that I know the solution to it. It certainly is a hard job to come in as a CEO of CrossFit and try to try to figure this whole beast out, because you have potential though. I think you're dealing with something that has massive potential. I think that CrossFit as a training methodology like is really good. I really believe that. I think the idea of high intensity functional fitness, which is also what we do in our program, I think that is a really good training form for most people. I'm not to say like there's other ways you can train, but I think CrossFit is a very efficient and effective way to train. And then you got CrossFit Games, which is also shown to be wildly popular. Like, I mean, if you were on ESPN and Netflix, I mean, obviously something is working there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you got a potential. You just got to figure out like, and I just don't think they've quite figured out yet how to like structure that right, in my opinion.
Let me ask you, because, I never competed or never worked out that hard at all. I mean, like I would do one workout a day, simple thing. And I'm a lot older than you, and I have injuries, but I usually rehab out of them. And it's, because I'm doing shit that someone at my age doesn't usually do. But that would happen to me if I was playing contact football or doing
Sure.
whatever. So I'm not like critical of CrossFit for that. But someone like you that was doing it 3 workouts a day and competing at the highest level there is, are you affected? I mean, do you have nagging injuries?
That's a good
Are you
question.
sore? What's going on with you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's also an untalked thing that hasn't maybe fully been explored yet, given that it's still a new sport, right? Or given new, yeah, sport. I said sport, but like given that the athletes now have been in it for 10, maybe 15 years at the most. So it will actually be really interesting to follow this, especially as the younger generation who is now actually starting when they're like 10, 15 years of age, and they're going to continue competing all the way until who knows, like until they're 30 or 35 maybe. Like that's a very long span where you're putting a lot of stress in the body. That'll be really interesting to see. For me personally, yeah, I have back issues. Wouldn't call it severe, but probably close to severe back issues here and there. It comes and go. Whether that's it's probably partially genetic from my dad, and it's also partially probably was aggravated from just doing CrossFit. So definitely hasn't gone better. But at the same, so yes, I have some, but at the same time, I also think like the positive side of things that I have from CrossFit, such as building a strong foundation, building like just muscle awareness, becoming just more in tune to my body, is way like by far outweighing the negative sides of it for me personally. It might be a different answer from other people though.
Well, I'm doing this thing here where we did I got all my blood work done from letsgetchecked.com and got
Hmm.
DEXA scans at Body Spec, and we did all this stuff. And for the most part, for as old as I am, I had like perfect blood work.
Yeah,
I
right.
had, I'm probably a little my body fat's a little high, but that's because I've been partying. I've been having
Yeah,
fun the last three
gotta have
months.
fun. Gotta have fun.
But but for the most part, like my bone density is great.
Hmm.
My body fat percentage is pretty low. It's not that bad, but uh, all my blood work and my hormones, like my testosterone and all that stuff, and cortisol, and all of it came up good.
Hmm.
And I can't say that about any of my friends that I
Yep.
graduated high school with, because they don't do this. They weren't the last 12 years of their life. They weren't in a gym every day, and I can only speak highly of it and
Hmm.
go,
I agree.
do I get injuries? Hell yeah, but that's because I'm an
Mhm.
idiot and I'm doing things,
Yeah.
over training, or
Yeah.
not smart, and not
Mhm.
working out with the gym and programming myself, which I shouldn't be doing. Uh, that's why I'm
But
always looking
but
for someone
I
else.
think there's also an aspect of CrossFit that breeds healthier living, right? So I think for me, like when I got into this, like I did not have very healthy habits, like as an outside of training. So I'm talking about nutrition, food habits, and food relationships. But so like I got into CrossFit, and I think CrossFit, even of course as an athlete, you have to have that aspect of it. But even for the average person, the normal person, so to speak, that comes in and just joins a CrossFit again, I do think that CrossFit breed like healthy habits outside of CrossFit as well. So like I correct me if I'm wrong here, but I imagine like given you're going to CrossFit, do CrossFit as well, like I have a feeling you're probably also eating healthy and eating like better than your friends that you're saying from high school. It
Sure,
hasn't worked
sure,
out. So
yeah.
like I don't think it's just CrossFit. I think it just like it's for me it started with CrossFit, but it led to much more that it lets more of a healthy approach to life in general for me. Yeah.
So, as busy as you are running the business and you're not training like at all, like you probably still train. I know you go, I don't train, but someone like you, that means, oh, I only do 2 workouts a day.
No, I do. I've always been inspired and then yeah, intrigued by doing, I guess, extreme things. So I had signed up for an ultra marathon, like 6 marathons over 6 days here in June, like coming up right now, but it got
Ugh.
canceled due to COVID. I just did a 24-hour workout the other day. Like, so you did 1 hour every hour for 24 hours Saturday, talking about being stupid. That was definitely one of those things.
I love
So
how you said, I don't work out that much anymore. Oh, I'm just
well,
six
so here's the
marathons.
thing. Here's the thing, though. For example, I did a marathon. Like, I never done a marathon, but I did one in January, and I happened to sign up a couple of days before, or something like that. And I'd never done a marathon. I never really didn't train, so I signed up for it, and I also didn't realize it was a trail marathon. So it was like
Oh,
up and down, and I'd never run anything close to that. So I don't really necessarily train, but I do sign up for a lot of different things, and I'm very active. And then like a couple of weeks later, the night before, I saw that 100K run at the same place, and I signed up for that. So like I still do a
so
lot of.
you ran a trail 100K.
Well, so actually, I didn't complete that one. So
Okay.
that was actually it was fun. I signed up, but I'm not even kidding. I was at 6 o'clock the night before with my friend. I was like, should I sign up? And should I not? And it's like, okay, let's just do it. So I signed up at 6 o'clock the night before. We went out, and like I had like, because it was 100K, I had to get a belt so you could actually bring water with you. I hadn't really done any. So I went to, what's it called, like Sport Runner or whatever. What's it called? What's like the store, whatever it's called. I got like a belt so like I could actually bring water with me. I got socks for my running shoes, and I bought all this the night before, and we went to get pizza that night, which was probably not very smart. And
Or
and
really
I
smart.
really
I
smart.
mean,
Well,
you're going to run 60. You want to have so much food in you.
so problem, here's what happened is, what I started that night, I was like, oh, I just feel a little under the weather, but didn't really like think much about it. And the morning came up, and I woke up. I run late to a lot of things I do, so I was running late to this marathon. So here I am driving towards this 100K in the car. I'm running late. I put my shoes on as I'm driving, and put my whoop watch and a running watch on as I'm driving there, my belt on, and I run out of the car, and I arrived like 3 minutes before the start. And as they actually said start, I was still like getting ready. So like I wasn't even ready for the actual start, getting my headlamp. We started like 4 o'clock in the morning, I think 5 o'clock. So we had to like run with headlamp, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I realized, so then what happened actually was that 60 kilometers, like 40 kilometers and 50 kilometers in, my body just completely started breaking down. I couldn't, it was physically, I was down to taking a foot at a time. And then I tested positive for COVID that night too. So
Oh,
it's just,
God.
yeah. So I just,
Oh, why didn't you open with this story?
I'm sorry. So it was a little bit of a
Oh,
disaster.
my God. You ran how many K with COVID?
60 kilometers, so like
Oh,
40 miles.
my God. Oh,
Yeah.
and here I am. I'm sitting there going, I ran a 68-mile race once, and I'm like,
Oh, that's good.
look at this. I did it. And this top CrossFitter, one of the best in the world, was having trouble. Well, of course you were. You did it with COVID. Holy shit. I was about to say to you, like, in all my wisdom, I'm like, wow, you didn't eat right. Cause I mean, I found doing it. I did it with Hunter McIntyre and Tommy Hackenbrook.
Oh yeah.
And we ran 68 miles, started at night, over the mountains,
Mhm.
18,000 vertical feet. And all I found was, if you keep your heart rate below,
Yeah.
anaerobic, and you're anaerobic, and you just keep fueling the whole time,
Yeah.
it's
It's
like,
all about
I tell
that.
everybody, I go, it's like keeping gas in the tank and not redlining. Don't
Yes.
redline, keep the gas in the tank, and you can go forever
Yeah.
until, the tires wear out, and the, brakes give out, and that kind of stuff. Like, that's where
So true.
your
So
feet
true.
and your knees and all that stuff start to give. I mean, they
Yeah.
wear down.
Yeah.
But to do it with COVID, how bad was your COVID?
I definitely didn't feel good. I'm
I
also
wonder
like,
if that exacerbated it too.
probably, I don't know. I don't want to make that an excuse for it, but it probably didn't help. No, but I'm also a big guy. I'm like, I weigh 225 pounds, probably
Yeah.
230 during that time. So, and I don't do run training at all. Like I haven't done much,
Mm-hmm.
as in like I hadn't run since, like, I forget exact dates here, but I think the marathon I did was in January, and then this 100K was in like end of February, and I hadn't run at all. I hadn't run a single time during that 6 week or whatever 5 week break that was there. So I definitely wasn't prepared. But like, I made two mistakes. I made the mistake of, like, first off, having terrible fuel. So I had pizza from the night after that in my fanny pack. So I was running, eating pizza, and terrible fueling the whole way. I guess it was just not very right fueling, I should say, and then not enough. And then so there was just sporadically, I'll just eat some really bad food here and there, and my stomach was going crazy. Good thing there was bathrooms all along the anyway. But then I was going to say what really made me what did the whole thing where I couldn't complete was because I was running this one person, this girl, and I felt we were running very slow, and like I could just see we're slightly off target to finish it within like the allowed time. So finally, after like we were running loops, like eight figure loops, and finally after the third time back to the main station, she was like, "Hey man, I'm just going to take a break," and I was like, "Okay, this is my chance to not be rude, but it's just get away from her so I can run at my own pace." And I did. And there's like the top of that. So the main station, the hub was up at the top of the mountain kind of thing. Like that was at the peak. So I ran out and I mean, full on blasted. And I just ran down the mountain. I mean, like I'm probably running a 4-minute mile pace down the mountain at this point. Over exaggerated a little bit, but I was definitely blasting down this trail. And as I got down to the end of that trail, I was just, my whole body just went complete shock. I'm probably at that point 20 kilometers in or something like that.
And that's
just
where
my
you started to
knees,
feel it?
yeah, my knees were just blown up. My hip blew up at that. Like, so the whole thing, like it was 5 minutes of just blasting down the mountain that ruined it off everything for me. It seems.
Yeah, it was a downhill that crushed me too. But I think maybe it was just the inflammation also of having
COVID. Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah,
Your whole
probably.
body's inflamed, and it just you know, who knows, that might have just been the thing that made it pop too.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, I believe our immune systems, I'm no doctor, but I think our immune systems like fight and fight and fight. And every time you can put them in such a stress state, they're
Yeah.
like, hey, your immune system's like, I was trying, then you did this to me.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
screwed it up. That's funny.
There's a guy that just finished Jimbo, who's been on this podcast, who did Murph for 365 days.
Oof.
And he got COVID in the middle of it. And he's like, I couldn't quit. I had to do it. So he did Murph every day with COVID.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
And then he ended up getting like diarrhea or something later on in the year, you know, because it's a whole year. You're going to get everything.
Yeah.
And I remember him being like, and I wrote to him, I said, hey, how's it going? And he's like, this is way worse than COVID, you know, like having diarrhea and trying to do Murph. But he just finished the other day. You know, he finished a few days ago. It's so impressive. He didn't miss a day. He did 365 days.
Any reason specific, or just other than just wanted to try it? Or
He did say he went through some shit. And he learned that like exercise for him was a way of dealing with the issues, and so he kind of committed to it, and he knows, you know, what a great charity it is, and you know, bringing awareness to those guys. And he's a first responder, so
got it. Yeah, makes sense.
But it was really nice to see, and but just, you know, I'm the kind of guy now, if I get the sniffles, I'm like, yeah, I'm not working out for a week. Like, I'm like, I just don't want to exacerbate a cold. So like knowing that you ran that with COVID.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid too. And honestly, like look at hindsight, I probably knew I had it, which is the dumbest part. Well, I obviously didn't know, but as you look in hindsight, you all the symptoms were probably pointing towards that. I just didn't really put two and two together there. But anyway, it's good. But that's what I'm intrigued by. I'm intrigued by like these days to just do things that are absolutely really stupid, to be honest. But I don't know, for some reason.
Have you done the 6 marathons, or are you going to do the 6?
No, so they canceled them. They were supposed to be in Mongolia. It was supposed to be in Mongolia. Yeah, actually June, I think 17th. It was supposed to start. 6 days, 6 marathons in terrain as well. But yeah, they canceled due to COVID, which is.
I had a guy on this podcast, Winston Fisher. He's a really good buddy of mine from growing up. He did 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, so that one's a really good one.
Yeah, and but I have to tell you this, in all honesty, as exciting and fun as it sounds, and you're a different kind of fit than he is, but I would put you in a category of you're like an elite fitness, where he was like an average guy that started competing constantly, and he was like competing in a different race he did Race Across America twice. He did and had won it twice with his teams. He did all kinds of things, you know, all these different marathons, all these different Spartan events. He fucked himself up.
Yeah.
Like his body, he's screwed. Like he has been in surgery after surgery after surgery.
I can see
hips, ankle, feet. I mean, I think there's a point like, the human body is capable of some amazing things. And that was kind of when I did the 68-mile run. I was like, this could be fun and But I was like, or I might die, or I might really ruin my body. And for 6 weeks, I had chondromalacia on my knee, or both knees. And I kept going, 6 weeks, everything goes away. You know, this is just, you know, And then at like 6 weeks, I'm like still here. 8 weeks, I'm still here. 10 weeks, I'm calling Kelly Starrett and going,
Hmm.
dude, I'm fucked. And he was like, what? I go, I have got chondromalacia. He's like, first of all, it's chondromalacia. Second of all, how do you know you have it? I'm like, I diagnosed myself. And it took a lot of rehab and I got rid of it,
Hmm.
which is great. But
But
I
that's also
just want
running. Running is like it's also like it's hard, man. It's just so hard in the body. Like it really
so
is,
hard.
especially if you're a guy like me, like 230 pounds is pounding like every step. It is hard. I can tell. I can tell it. I can. And honestly, that's one of the beautiful things about CrossFit. Is like it can be hard on the body, but if done right in a right setting, it can also be very low impact on the body, and like depending on
Sure,
what you
sure.
do, right? So it's that I do really like that aspect of CrossFit too.
Well, I'm going to say, I think yours getting canceled was a blessing.
Well, thank you.
I
That
don't,
probably was.
I just don't think, like, I think people can run. I think people should run. But I'm starting to wonder about like how much ultra stuff, like
Yeah.
when is too much?
Yeah.
When is,
That's
and
definitely too much.
there are people out there doing these 240-mile races, no problem. Like
Yeah,
get,
but they don't do it to be healthy though. I imagine most of them do it because they're just drawn to this aspect of like doing something extreme, right? Like I mean, I imagine most of these people don't think like, hey, let me go run 200K because this is really healthy for my body. I don't imagine most of the people are saying that.
so when you go to the gym, are you working out at all? Or are you just entering competitions? Are you training at all for it?
No, I don't really train for it. I do. I mean, I do work out here and there, but it's very much like sporadic. It's like, hey, a friend calls up, or I call someone, or if it just happened to be like a time span where like I don't have anything planned, then I'll go to the gym. We do have a gym here. I'm actually right now. I'm at our office slash
Mhm.
gym for Grown Strong. So we do have a gym right on the other side here. So it's easy for me. But I don't enjoy it. I don't, and that's why I stopped. I mean, that's part of the reason I stopped. I just don't enjoy the training as much anymore. I love
Right.
competing, and I miss that a lot. But I don't enjoy training as much anymore.
Right. Do you at the office you're at, do you film a lot for Grown Strong?
Yeah, we do. We do. That's part
And
of the reason why I got it.
yeah. And so the workouts aren't just programmed. You're not just buying the programming, you're buying like how-tos and walk through
Yeah,
everything.
basically,
Yeah.
we really try and like, and I think that's again like that whole idea where CrossFit gets a lot of hate. If you walk into a CrossFit gym and you're like, here, let's do double Murph today, because you see that like well, maybe not specifically double Murph, but you do see like, hey, let's do these kipping pull ups followed by muscle ups and then handstand push ups, and then let's do like 30 rounds of that, and you do see that, and then the coach just goes sit in a corner. Um, like I don't have a specific scenario there, but it does happen. Where CrossFit is just like, and that's why people are hating on it for good reasons, because it should never happen. So what I think the approach we're taking is like we want to do the exact opposite. We want to like we have an online program, and that's really hard to do an online program and keeping it safe. So we really try to pride ourselves in like doing educational pieces to it
Hmm.
as well. So we want to make it fun and we want to have a great online program, and I think we're doing an excellent job of that. But what I really think we're different is that we're really trying to educate people. We're really trying to like, hey, if you come join Grown Strong, you're joining a fitness program, but more importantly, you're joining a community of females that are all trying to like become a healthier person, both inside and out. And we're really trying to educate people in how to do that.
That's awesome. How can people sign up for this? Where do they go?
Grownstrong.com, GROWN, not to get mixed up with Growing Strong. We get that one all the time.
So grownstrong.com,
.com.
and looking forward to seeing everything you guys got going on. And
Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate
Lauren,
it.
and what's the name of the Icelandic super team?
CrossFit Reykjavik. I probably
Oh
pronounced that
yeah,
wrong.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Who else is on the team with her?
This is Annie and Lauren on the female side, and then you got Khan Porter and
Okay,
Tola. Oh, God, Tola, don't hate me, but I forget your last name. He's just known as Tola. So Tola
okay.
and Khan, yeah. They have a
So
good team.
he's Con Con's from Australia though, right?
Correct.
Okay,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a very random team. It really is.
yeah,
Like you got Annie
yeah.
from Iceland, Lauren from US, Tola from US, and then Khan from Australia.
It's gonna be interesting to watch. It's gonna be
I
awesome.
I would like to think so. I think like there's which is needed. It's needed on the team side. It's needed to make things exciting again, because it
I
certainly
I
has
I
not been
think
exciting.
I think they've dropped the ball on the teams. I think the teams are really should be the fun thing to watch and should
Totally
be really exciting. So
agree.
it's funny. I'm ending the show, but I'm bringing up another topic. I don't know if you watch the grid. Remember the Grid League? I don't know
Oh,
if you ever.
I was in it.
I
I
was
was on
just
the
gonna
Phoenix
say I
Reds.
didn't. Okay, I was gonna say I didn't know if you were on a team or not. it still exists down in Florida.
I know, I know. We just talk. God, it's so funny to bring it up because I talked with someone the other day where like it is still a thing and it's still going on in Florida. Exactly.
And it goes on, and they're doing like crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like like they'll do like burpee, or they'll do like toes to bar muscle ups.
Oh, I know,
and
I know.
and like really weird stuff, but it looks better than the stuff that you see in the CrossFit games. I mean, we all know it's kind
Gosh.
of non-functional,
Yes.
but it's exciting.
But talk about the difference, right? Like, okay, so I was going to bring this up when we had a conversation earlier when we talked about like it was on CrossFit. I was going to bring this up and we start talking about it because I was going to say the same thing where I was like, you got Grid League, and again talking about that separation, and Grid League came in and almost kind of did that. And I think they were onto something. They were onto a concept that could be used as a sport. It was very entertaining. It was always exciting. All the matches we had did come down to the very end. Like it was always super exciting. There was teams behind us. So you could get like big money behind.
Specialists. It was cool.
I think it was really cool. I really think so. Like, so I think it was
I made
great.
fun of it. I made fun of it a lot, but I liked it. Well, Rasmus, thank you for doing the
Thank
show.
you,
I
Eddie.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I would love to talk to you longer, but I'm running out of battery.
Oh,
And
shoot.
this is our whole new program. We're going to be up on YouTube. We're going to post clips and things. So everybody pay attention to that. You know what to do. Go to iTunes, rate, review, comment, and check out grownstrong.com. Check out their programming. It looks awesome. And thanks again for doing the show.